Sorry, I need to pull up my remarks here. All right. Welcome to the June 4th, 2024 meeting of the Planning Board. First, we'll take a roll call to introduce board members and staff. Sean Weller,
Here.
Phil Giordano,
I'm here.
Josh Ames,
I'm here as well.
Kate Nee,
Here.
and I'm Ellen Rawlings. I am also present, and we also have with us Elijah Romulus. He is our town planner, Jess Cole, who is our recording secretary, and Alex Portillo from Westwood Media Center. This meeting is recorded by Westwood Media Center and broadcast live on local cable television Comcast Channel 6 and Verizon Channel 42. Meetings are also live on the Westwood Media Center's YouTube channel. If you're interested in joining the meeting via Zoom, you can find the login directions in the Planning Board meeting notice that is posted to the calendar section of the town's webpage at https://www.townhall.westwood.ma.us/. We will begin the meeting with only the board members and staff unmuted and on video. As the chair recognizes individuals to speak, we will unmute them. Board members may choose to mute themselves when they are not speaking in order to minimize background noise. For applications, the chair will first invite the applicants to address the board and give a presentation summarizing what is being requested. Board members receive the application materials prior to the meeting and will have reviewed them. Board members may ask questions during and following the presentation. Staff and outside experts will provide comments to the board. If the issue includes a public hearing, the board will then proceed to the public comment portion of the public hearing and will restate the instructions. In this remote meeting format, residents and guests may participate in several ways. Attendees should raise their hand and wait to be unmuted and recognized to speak over the Zoom meeting application or from a telephone dial-up. We will be able to hear you but not see you. Additionally, comments may be submitted by email or regular mail prior to the meeting. When we come to that part of the meeting, I will remind everyone of the process. Following the public comment portion, the board will deliberate and make a decision or continue the hearing to a specific future date. All remote meetings require that votes be taken by roll call. When a motion and second has been made, the chair will ask if there is any further discussion before proceeding to a roll call vote and will then restate the results of the vote. All right. Elijah, do we have any changes to our agenda this evening?
Yes. So there was an A&R application for 78 Foxhill Street that came in last Friday. I was able to revise the agenda accordingly with the town clerk to update it and include it on this meeting.
Okay, great. Is there any reason to take our items out of order, or should we just proceed as written?
You can proceed as written.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. In that case, our first agenda item is 101 High Street, consideration of an approval not required A&R plan to divide 3 existing parcels into 5 parcels for a shared driveway and 5 single-family residences. Do we have anyone representing the applicant here this evening?
We do not. I do not see them in the attendees list. If I may, Madam Chair, there
Absolutely.
was some back and forth with the attorney that is putting forth the application, and most recently, he actually had sent an email request for continuance to the next scheduled planning board meeting, and in so extending the required time of action as well.
Okay, that's great. So we would, if I understand correctly, we would just make a motion to continue this with no discussion this evening.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, all right. In that case, I would happily entertain a motion. If we have one.
Oh, I'm sorry, it is not
No worries.
drafted. However, you can, let's see.
What's the next meeting date? The 25th?
Yes, June 25th, Tuesday, June 25th.
Okay, then Phil, yes?
I move to continue
The matter until the next scheduled meeting, June 25th.
At
Second.
7 p.m. via Zoom. Is that correct?
7 p.m. by Zoom, yes. Thank you, Madam Chair.
No worries. I heard a
Second.
motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, take a roll call vote. Josh?
Aye.
Phil?
Aye.
Kate?
Aye.
Sean?
Aye.
I vote aye as well. The motion carries and the item is continued until our June 25th meeting. Thank you. I also see we've been joined by Nora Locknane, who is our Director of Community and Economic Development. Hello, Nora. All right, so that was 101 High Street. The next agenda item, as you noted, Elijah, is 78 Fox Hill Street, which would be consideration of an approval not required A&R plan for endorsement. And do we have anyone from that applicant team here?
It looks like there is one of the property owners that is involved with the application. If you would like to speak, I would just ask that, through the chair, I would just ask that you raise your hand. All right. I did actually speak to the applicant. There are two abutting neighbors in this case. If the board may or may not be aware, but there was some litigation going on between those two properties, and it was finally resolved, and so that's why we're taking up this A&R plan once again. Also, at the end of the day today, I did get a request from the applicant on this one, just to ask for a continuance. There were several, I had indicated in a summary, there were several technical issues with the plan, and so the applicant has actually asked for a continuance in this as well.
All right, so same thing, continuance with no discussion.
I move to continue the matter. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Nora.
If I could, just before you make a motion, so the request from the applicant, I believe, to continue this to the next meeting did not have a specific waiver of the timeframe set forth in section 81P of chapter 41. So unless the applicant is present at the meeting to grant that specific waiver, I would recommend that the board vote to find the plan incomplete.
I see.
And offer
Okay.
that the applicant come back at your next meeting.
Thank you. So little different than the previous
Right, the
A&R
previous
situation.
one, yeah, the previous one specifically granted a waiver.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you. So
Thank you, Nora.
sorry,
So,
yeah, do we have someone from the representing the applicant that would be willing to grant that waiver? If not, it sounds like we would need to take action.
Okay. All right, I can pull up the proposed motion on the screen.
Thank you.
I move that the planning board find the approval not required application for 78 Fox Hill Street dated May 31st, 2024 to be incomplete and not in accordance with section 3.1 of the planning board's rules and regulations for the subdivision of land, and that the board vote to not endorse the submitted plan as not requiring approval under the subdivision control laws.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll take a roll call vote. Josh?
Aye.
Sean?
Aye.
Phil?
Aye.
Kate?
Aye.
I vote aye as well. The motion carries. Thank you very much. Switch back. Our next agenda item is zoning discussion. Discussion of expansion of mixed-use, multiple-family residential overlay district, Mumford. And I believe we continued this from our last meeting. So I am, sorry, waiting for my page to load here. Elijah, what were your thoughts or Nora about how to frame this? Did you want to start kind of debriefing on what we did and what the next steps as far as the most recent changes are, and then kind of move forward from there? Or how did you want to approach this?
So I'll let Elijah take the lead, but I think the best thing to do would be to just recap what occurred at town meeting, what was actually approved, and then have the board discuss whether they're interested in proposing any further zoning amendments related to Mumford at the next town meeting.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yes, so as Nora stated, so at the town meeting Monday, May 6th, the Article 21, the zoning bylaw and zoning map amendments relative to mixed use and multifamily residential overlay district did pass by a majority vote. Yes, and 229 yes to 165 no. Pretty much the next step is to have the compliance model for the list of parcels be reviewed by EOHLC, the Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities, and also for the zoning bylaws themselves to be approved by the Attorney General. If in any case the compliance model is kicked back by EOHLC, then that would then put us in a position to consider additional parcels to make sure that we are compliant. And in that case, that would most likely be going to a fall town meeting in that event. And so just to put that on, the planning board's radar, any interested parties, just to kind of reiterate that process.
Thank you. Do we have any sense of when they might be going through that process and letting us know? Because obviously we have a December 31st deadline. So do we have a time frame at all on when we might hear back?
So their review period is pretty lengthy. I would say it's roughly 90 days. So you have to, they may get back to us before then, but.
All right, great. Thank you. Well, I'll be anxiously awaiting the feedback from both the Attorney General and, I always still call it DHCD, but you gave the acronym. I won't try and repeat it, but thank you. That's helpful.
Can I just ask one question of
Absolutely.
Elijah? Because I know we went through this process once before and had things kicked back. Is there like a major or minor process as to what needs to be considered anew by the planning board and then town, as compared to what might be minor considerations that the Attorney General's office may give feedback on that does not need to go to town meeting?
So we expect to hear one way or the other from the Attorney General within 90 days of the submission of our articles. The town clerk is working on submitting the articles now. So typically we hear back from the town clerk in early September about our May town meeting articles. They either approve the articles, deny the articles, or request additional time. If the Attorney General approves the article, it goes forward regardless of whether it meets EOHLC's standards under the MBTA legislation.
Okay.
And if it doesn't meet MBTA standards, EOHLC standards, their guidelines for the MBTA law, then we need to go to town meeting with some other proposal that would. But if the Attorney General grants approval of the article, it becomes effective. So two different issues. Now, if the Attorney General declines to approve the article in early September, then we know we also have to go back because now we have no zoning that's compliant with the MBTA. And then the third option is the Attorney General could request additional time. And if they do that, that puts us in the absolute worst position because now we don't know if we have to go back to town meeting to request an amendment of the article. So, so we're hoping that the Attorney General will grant approval. We did have a pre-review of our article by the Attorney General's office where we had a meeting with a representative for the Attorney General's office and we went through the bylaw with our town council. And she did not raise any red flags. Her unofficial opinion was that it looked like it was consistent from what she could see with our previous article, which was approved in 2022. So I'm cautiously optimistic that the Attorney General will approve all of the planning board articles, specifically the Mumford article. Whether EOHLC will find that it's compliant with the MBTA communities law, we won't know before September. There's a slim possibility they'll fast track it, but it's unlikely. They don't have to tell us until 90 days.
So what happens if the Attorney General approves, but the EHOLC decides it's non-compliant?
Well, then we remain. We move from our interim compliance stage to our non-compliance stage, and we face whatever penalties the state chooses to impose. But our Mumford zone exists, and zoning development under that zoning district could go forward.
But we're still non-compliant.
If that's what EOHLC determines, yes. Yes, and so Amanda and I did meet with a representative from EOHLC who said that they would review all compliance submissions with the timeline in mind and would do their best to get back to us as soon as possible. And that if they did find a town to be non-compliant but working towards compliance, they would provide some leeway with the December 31st end date. So they said they are trying to work with us. That doesn't give us an advanced compliance. We either comply or we don't, but as long as we're continuing to work with them, they will give us a little additional time if we need it.
If they ask for additional time, is it usually 30 days or 60 days or?
So the Attorney General's office, that's the only experience we have. When they ask for additional time, it's usually 60 or 90 days.
Oh boy, that would put us really.
Yes, and in fact, I think the previous Mumford district, I can't remember if they asked for 1 or 2 sessions of additional time, but I recall that we didn't get the approval until the following year. So I think it was maybe around February that we heard for the previous May articles. So it can be a lengthy process. I don't expect that this time because it's not the first time. We already had the Mumford district and it's amendments to an existing district, amendments which have been pre-reviewed. So I'm cautiously optimistic we'll have an answer by early September.
Okay. Thanks, Nora.
Thank you. Does anyone else have questions about kind of the process as far as what we've already done and what we're waiting on? Kate.
Thank you. I'm just curious if I'm reluctant to begin discussing additional sites until we know any type of an answer. And I just wonder, is it possible for us to consider not discussing this until we hear something in September? And then if we need to add additional meetings beyond the meetings we currently have scheduled to address this, to address whatever those issues are.
So that's absolutely an option, and that's fairly consistent with what the planning board has done in the past. There's always a hesitancy to discuss a specific parcel outside of a public hearing. Because if the public hearing has not yet been advertised, then speculative value of the property can be affected.
Yeah, that makes most sense to either continue the discussion until September or whenever. And then we know the lay of the land and can kind of apprise us to what we need to do next.
Yeah, I just feel like we've had so much discussion already that without knowing what we're trying to accomplish, additional discussion won't necessarily be very useful.
Yeah, I agree.
Thank you. I agree with you, by the way. I echo that sentiment. I also, I'm pleased that we were successful at town meeting, but I'm also very sensitive to a lot of the concerns and desire from many of our residents to wait and see what happens next before we continue pushing forward. So I think kind of deferring a discussion about any expansion at all is appropriate. That's just my perspective. So thank you, Kate and Phil. Anyone else have thoughts on, well, any of what we've discussed so far this evening? Sean?
I'll just note that I'm in agreement with all those opinions that have been expressed, and I think that's probably the most prudent course of action. I think anything that we'd want to be looking at around this would be first and foremost anything that has to do with directly responding to either what the AG or EOHLC have brought back to us. And I think we'd want to address that narrowly in one band. Any other broader discussion about whether it's the Mumford element of zoning or others, I think we'd want to have a longer consideration of any of our goals around zoning. And I think we'd want to even have that conversation separate from just sort of narrowly Mumford compliance with what the EOHLC is asking from us, and then obviously what the AG might need from a pure kind of bylaw compliance perspective. So that's just my quick note.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other comments on that? Any of that as to how to proceed? It sounds like we're kind of in agreement about what we want to do right now, which is really not anything. So. All right. Do we need to take any kind of action on this, or was this purely a discussion and we're good?
Just a discussion, no action needed.
Awesome. All right. That if nobody else has anything to add or any questions, I will move. Oh, yes, Kate.
Yeah, I do just want to say, like, thank God you guys are paying attention to this and can give us these updates, because, you know, for me, half the time it's like, oh no, we passed it.
Right.
And I think we're done. So I just really, I really appreciate the teamwork and that you guys are keeping this front of mind. So thank you, staff. Thank you.
Thank you, Kate. Yes, agreed. I think I like to think that we're okay, we're good, we've done it, but there's still more. So it's kind of watching and waiting, or hurry up and wait. So I'll keep thinking good thoughts that all plays out as we would like it to. All right. Any additional comments? I don't want to cut anyone off if anyone has anything to say. All right, then I will move on to the next agenda item, which is review of draft meeting minutes from May 14th, 2024. Does anyone have any edits or comments on the minutes?
None for me.
Just for the record, I had sent one short edit ahead of this meeting. I figured it was more efficient to do it that way, and I got confirmation that edit will be incorporated into the updated minutes. So I'm fine with a motion that would accept the minutes with that change if nobody else has anything else. All right, if there's no further discussion on the minutes, I would entertain a motion.
So
If
moved.
anyone has.
Second.
If anyone has, all right, let me formalize that language then, just for
So I move that we
posterity.
accept, what was it, May 15th? May 14th. I move
14th.
that we accept the May 14 minutes with edits from the chair. That's it. 2024, May 14, 2024.
Second.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kate. Thanks, Josh. I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll take a roll call vote. Kate?
Aye.
Phil?
Aye.
Josh?
Aye.
Sean?
Aye.
I vote aye as well. Motion carries. Thank you. All right. Our next agenda item is updates from agency and committee representatives. Has anyone been to any meetings that they would like to report out on? Nobody's raising hands. I will share briefly. We did have another large group meeting of the Canton Street Project Working Group, and there were two designs. It was kind of like two options presented. One was for a shared use path that would be completely within the right of way. So with the redesign, unlike the 25% plan, it would eliminate the need for the takings that was there before. Still need easements, but no actual takings. And also a proposal for what would be, I believe, a 5.5-foot sidewalk only. So there was some discussion about that. It was well attended by residents, and no decisions were made. It was just kind of are either or both of these kind of moving in a direction that might possibly be viable options. And I think the consensus was, yes, this is a better starting point than the 25% plan we started with. So I'm not sure when the next meeting on that will be. They are public meetings, so I encourage people to come if they can. And I'm thinking we're probably going to have at least one or two more meetings before there's a recommendation made. That's just the sense I'm getting from the group. So that's all I have to report on that. I know, Nora, you were there too. If there was anything you'd like to add on that, please feel free.
I think you covered it.
All right. Great. And I don't think I went to any other additional meetings this month. So, all right. If nobody has anything to add there, then our next agenda item is general miscellaneous updates and administrative items. Staff, yes.
Yes, so I just wanted to let the board know that at the select board's most recent meeting, they did vote to approve the recommended committee appointments the planning board made at the May 14th meeting. And then also just a heads up, in the next few planning board meetings being June 25th, July 16th, and August 6th, we'll be having representatives from various boards, committees, and departments to update the board on the comprehensive plan from 2020 and its related implementation and action steps. So just keep that on your radar as we proceed through the summer meetings.
Excellent. That's great. Thank you.
Can I just ask quickly if what's the pacing for that? Are there certain boards that we're going to see at certain or certain representatives we'll see at certain meetings, and how that's being divided up?
Yeah, so we've been reaching out to various boards and committee representatives. We're trying to split it up evenly, so there's roughly a third of the list of representatives at each meeting. There's not necessarily a specific grouping. We're hoping to, I guess, get more of the planning, housing, and some type of related updates at the June 25th meeting, and then whoever kind of expresses a need to be on one meeting versus another will kind of prioritize that.
Thanks.
Excellent. I'm personally looking forward to that. So that's exciting news. Great. Anyone else have any questions about any of that information or comments?
Just will we be, or is the schedule of all of our upcoming meetings floating around? I don't know if I saw that. For the fall and going into the spring.
Yes. Well, for the fall, not the spring.
Okay. It's already, is it already uploaded on the site?
It
Okay.
should be, and I could recirculate that.
It is for sure.
Oh, it is. Okay. I didn't catch that. So, okay.
Thank you. I almost don't want to, I'm going to knock on wood, but unless anyone else has anything else, we're on to our final agenda item.
I think
Which would
Kate is
be-
moving for us to stay longer.
Well, I
Yeah,
was just gonna
yes,
say, I'd love to tell you guys about my day. It's
sure.
super exciting. No, I'm just-
We have time. I mean, I have here, I see our final agenda item before adjournment would be upcoming planning board meetings. There's one on June 25th, 2024, July 16th, 2024, and I think Elijah also, it's not on my list here, but he did allude to our August meeting. What's the date on that?
August 6th.
August 6th, 2024. So we can get those on the calendar. Excellent.
Just one shout out to, while everyone's here, one shout out to Josh, who's celebrating his birthday today.
Hey,
Yeah. Happy birthday.
happy birthday.
I would sing, but I want you to still be speaking to me after the end of this meeting, so I won't do. All right, yes, happy birthday, Josh.
What a
and
great
many-
birthday you're having, man, huh?
Oh, yeah. I mean,
Well, our
this
get-
is the shortest planning board meeting that I think been to, so.
I was just gonna say, we're
Yeah.
finishing up in a half an hour. That's pretty good.
Yeah,
That's a
it's
birthday
amazing.
present for Josh.
Pretty great. gift.
There, yes. Well done, team. All right. Well, on that note, we'll send you virtual cupcakes, and the next time we're all in one place, we'll make up for that. If nobody has anything else that they would like to address, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Kate's favorite motion of the night.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on adjournment? Seeing none, I will take a roll call vote. Kate,
Aye.
Josh,
Aye.
Phil,
Aye.
Sean.
Hi.
I vote aye as well. Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Have a
you.
Nice to see you.
wonderful
Happy
Enjoy
birthday,
yourself.
Josh.
Happy
Yes,
birthday.
happy birthday, Josh.
See ya.
See you in a few weeks. Thanks all.